Well, our top story first. It doesn't take an AI expert to tell you that New Year could bring with it exciting times for AI in India and across the world. From agentic AI disruption in enterprise software and transition of AI itself as it moves from chats to agents to the growing dominance of multi-agent systems and the change in user experience, 2026 could have it all. In fact, we saw much of this happen last year as AI agents dominated most workflows in the enterprise space and a number of customer engagement processes were automated by AI frameworks. So will 2026 now see the emergence of a much larger and a much more significant role that AI will now play in everyday life? And more importantly, will AI adoption pick up pace this year to soon become an intangible part of our lives and our work? To speak to us about what we can expect and some of the AI-driven innovations that could become a reality this year, we're now joined by Arun Ramachandran, CEO at Kerala-based digital engineering firm Qburst. Arun, firstly, thanks so much for joining us on the broadcast. My first question to you: as we enter 2026, AI is becoming increasingly embedded in business and daily life. So from your perspective, what are the top 3 AI trends this year that you are the most excited about? These are trends, of course, that will truly redefine business and customer experiences. What are they?
Jude, for having me on this episode. Very excited about 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. 2026 is bringing about a huge number of changes, especially in AI. I think one thing is very clear. Agentic AI disruption in enterprise software is real. 3 things which are really the key trends: moving from chats to agents, which means moving from creation to action. Second, multi-agent systems are going to become dominant as an architecture, as a fact of life. Third, one of the biggest changes will be in user experience. Things like retail, e-commerce, click and buy paradigm will move away. It will become obsolete. Agentic commerce will make sure that interfaces, goal-oriented interfaces, become the prominent aspect of the agentic world. So those are the 3 trends.
Well, thanks for breaking down some of those insights for us, Arun. But, I have to ask you, towards the end of 2025, companies like TCS and Freshworks started reporting AI-driven revenue as part of their regular earnings, signaling a shift from experimentation to monetization. How do you now see the contribution of AI to overall business revenue evolving across industries in 2026?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question, right? We've been in the industry for more than 2 decades, multiple tech cycles. This cycle is different in terms of its speed and the speed of monetization as well, right? We are seeing a shift in how AI is contributing to business revenues. Initially, it was through cost savings. Now it is becoming more of a revenue driver, what we would call as a growth driver. We calling the AI impact into 3 different categories: growth, productivity, and transformation. Acronym is GPT. So productivity is where we have seen a lot of changes, cost saving, efficiencies, but growth, which is revenue, customer retention, those kind of things are becoming critical and they are contributing to business revenues. I think the biggest transformation is still to come, the T part, which will be changes in business models, which will lead to a quantum increase in the way businesses are profitable and they grow, right? So we are moving, and Qburst itself is obviously building AI-driven products and accelerators, which will help drive new revenue streams. For us, AI revenue doesn't need to be called out separately because it's part and parcel of all our service lines, right? So whatever we do, whether it is design, engineering, testing, operations, they all have AI-driven services and accelerators and tools. And essentially, we are solving client business problems through those and through applied AI.
Well, that's a nice way of putting it, the GPT in terms of AI and its pickup for the new year. Moving on to adoption itself now, Arun. AI adoption picked up strongly in India in 2025, yet highly regulated sectors like banking and BFSI continue to remain cautious, waiting for regulatory clarity before going about adopting AI itself. Do you expect this hesitation to ease in 2026? And if yes, what do you think could accelerate adoption in these sectors?
It certainly will. See, AI regulation is changing differently in different countries. US is relaxing its standards. EU is holding pat. China is going through a different model. The Middle East is adopting some, very sensible actually AI models, and India too, right? So a lot obviously depends on the regulatory framework, which have changed a little bit, but the two axes which define a regulatory framework remain: one, execution, which is speed versus accuracy, and I would add things like safety and fairness, right? So these are the two axes which AI regulatory frameworks try to define. I think that situation is becoming clearer in India as well. Uh, the reason why certain sectors have held back is one because of the regulatory aspect, but related to it is the aspect of data provenance, right? How clear and reliable is the data, the content, and whether it can be now leveraged and monetized, especially in regulated sectors, as you said, finance, healthcare, banking, of course, and so on, right? Uh, in India, I think the adoption of this in these sectors will also grow once you have domain-specific LLMs. We calling it DSLMs. I think that trend, right, making it more contextual to that industry, the terminology, the regulations will help accelerate the adoption in these. So we are already seeing some significant breakthroughs. I think that will increase.
Right, let's shift focus to QBurst itself for a bit. Now, the company has applied AI across sectors like retail, healthcare, hospitality, and real estate, to name a few. Now, if you had to just pick one sector with the highest growth potential for AI-driven revenue and impact this year, just one, not more than that, which one would it be and why?
No, so I think there are two ways of interpreting your question. That's why I mentioned that. One is retail is big for us in QBurst, right? We are leaders in retail in certain areas like luxury commerce, e-commerce, and so on. We are seeing adoption of AI in retail in aspects like agentic commerce. I mentioned that as one of the trends in aspects like product information, supply chain, and so on. So we definitely see an impact of retail in retail, but healthcare is something which I would like to call out because it has a much broader applicability on human life, and it has a different impact, so to speak. So whether it is diagnostics, whether it is patient claims and insurance claims, whether it is managing visits, whether it is the ease of providers to deliver services, I think the impact on humanity from a healthcare perspective and the use of AI for healthcare is going to be of a far higher magnitude. So that's the reason I mentioned both these. We are close to these sectors, and I think the adoption in these two has the highest potential from a revenue and impact perspective.
Right, before we end, Arun, I have to ask you, most recently, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella urged us all to move beyond the slop versus sophistication debate that usually comes by way of any discussion on AI and focus on using AI as a cognitive amplifier in day-to-day work. How quickly do you think businesses will embrace this mindset, and what do you think will either enable or hinder this transition?
So, Satya Nadella is on to something here. I had actually presented or published a written paper 2 years ago when I was at Hexaware prior to this on a continuum for AI value and how AI can impact. And it had 4 segments to it. Automation was the first. Augmentation was the second. So moving from automation to augmentation. Third was amplification. So we called it out as we had called it the 4A model. Amplification was the third. And finally, it was autonomy, right? So when Satya Nadella says cognitive amplifier, it does fit into that spectrum. These are stages of AI impact and value. I believe that, as enterprises start using it, human beings start using it, they will see that AI will be able to amplify their capabilities, their skill sets through the right mix of context and acceleration. And as an enterprise, as QBurst, right, we are adopting some of this because we know that AI is changing how managed services is delivered, how engineering is done, how testing is done. We are calling that framework as managed agents, right? So it's going to really impact and help with the transition because people will get more comfortable as they see that it's amplifying and augmenting their capabilities.
Well, on that forward-looking note, Arun, thanks so much for joining us and breaking down some of those points. Great speaking to you, as always.